get my 6. What's up, everybody? Good morning to you from sunny Jacksonville, Florida. You're thinking, what? Crazy Lake, last time we saw you, there was snow and ice behind you in the beautiful Blue Ridge Mountains of Virginia. Now you're in sunny Jacksonville, Florida. What are you doing? Let me tell you what I'm doing. I've hit the road. I'm practicing what I preach. I've been saying in these videos always about how, you've got to go outside and play. Hello, good morning. There's a Broward County Sheriff's deputy right there making sure the coast is clear. We're in Broward County, Jacksonville, Florida. I wanted to come out here and hit the road and see if what the people, you folks, have been telling me for months now since we started covering this issue with the drones, the orbs, the fog, the plasmoids, that's kind of redirected us back to the chemtrails and mass depopulation, is what people are saying actually happening and going on. And I can confirm, yes, it is. So I'm just going to be moving around here this morning. We're not at our final destination yet. We're going to be spending quite a while down here in Florida. Just to be truthful, one day last week, we went out to have basketball practice in the evening. It had been getting down to 7 degrees every night in Virginia. And even though we have our water lines wrapped with electrical Beaver, one of my sponsors, electrical heating wiring tape things, we neglected to leave the faucets on. We came home, the water was frozen, and kind of jokingly, but kind of not, isn't this beautiful? As of this recording, it's January 29th, and they're mowing grass over here. Look, everything is green. Anyway, the water was frozen, and I said to my beautiful bride, Dearly, aka Giggly Girl, I was like, this sucks. We should go to Key West until winter's over. And she said, okay. I'm like, seriously? She goes, yeah. I says, well, you want to pack and go now? And she's like, well, I've got this birthday party this weekend, but how about on Monday? So that's what we did. So we're just going to stay down here till it gets warm enough to go home. All right? So there's that. But then also, it seems from the emails we've been getting on this channel that Florida, especially North Florida, is ground zero of whatever's going on with the sprays, the chemtrails. Trying to get away from the lawnmower. I think he's following me. So anyway, we've spent the last couple of days driving. The video you saw yesterday, I did pre-record the day before we left. I got on my email account that's associated with this channel this morning, and I have over 500 emails from you folks. Listen, I will get to them. And again, before I tell you this next part, please let me put this out there. Let's please respect boundaries. I've talked about this before. A lot of folks email. They want me to call them. They want me to come see them. Remember, there's a line we can't cross. I'm a social media content creator who is genuinely concerned with this issue as much as you are. But we can't cross certain boundaries. Like, you stay on your side of the screen, I'm going to stay on mine. We are going to Key West, okay? We're going to be there. It's a 3.5 hour drive from here in Jacksonville. Yesterday was a long drive. But I want to tell you, with all that said, and yeah, I blabbed quickly for 3.5 minutes because I want to get to the meat and the potatoes of this story. Here comes another sheriff's deputy. I hope there's nothing going on at the hotel I'm staying at. So anyway, it's a nice place. I recommend it. It's right off the Florida Turnpike. It's called the Hilton Inn, I think. So anyway, these trees are beautiful. Everything's green. When we left, we had the thermostat for our split ductless set to 68, and now we've got the air conditioning in our rooms we've been staying in set at 72. It's beautiful. Everything's green. You hear the lawnmowers. So, couple things I want to note before getting into this. We received several emails about this chemical smell in southwestern Virginia, particularly around the Danville area. We drove through that area. I can confirm we did smell those smells. They were very heavy in the air. But here's something that I found interesting. This happened in Timmonsville, South Carolina. We got off course from where we live just outside of Charlottesville. We should have taken 29 south straight to Key West, 18-hour drive. But we stopped for lunch in Lynchburg, and somehow while I was yapping and being a typical dad and not using the phone for directions, after we got back in the truck after lunch, I went an hour out of my way west for no reason. I don't know why, because by the time we figured out we were lost, it's because we ended up in the the Star City of Roanoke. I'm like, what? So then we had to go down through that part of Southwest Virginia is actually part of Appalachia, and I hadn't been in Appalachia for years, so that was like, wow, like a walk into the past. But so that's how we ended up going through these very small, tiny communities, and we stopped to spend the first night in Timmonsville, South Carolina, and we needed water for drinking and to make coffee the next day. So we were across from a truck stop. So I go over to the truck stop to buy water. They didn't have any, at least not in the big gallons. The only option was to buy a bunch of multiple bottles, like Dasani, and that's what I ended up doing. And I hated to spend that kind of money on water. But I asked the guy working there, I'm like, do you have any water in the back? I can't find it. He goes, no. He says, we're selling out of our gallons of water as quickly as we can get it. And I said, why? He says, because it's the locals coming in and buying it, not the truckers. They don't want to drink what's coming out of the ground. And I said, why is that? And he says, because of what's going into the ground. Have you not heard? And I said, enlighten me. And I'm like, does this guy recognize me from YouTube or something? So he starts going on and on about the chemtrails, the sprays, the drones, the smells. Honest to God, truthful story. And I'm like, and I said, yeah, I've been hearing about that, like on the internet and stuff, like on YouTube. And he's like, yeah. And so people are coming in droves and buying water from this truck stop. And he says they're buying it out of the grocery stores. I hadn't heard that yet, but I heard it now on the road. Again, getting back to what I started to saying earlier, I'm practicing what I preach. I can't tell you that you don't know what's going on if you're just staying at home and watching your computer screen and legacy media channels. You got to get out there, go out and play and be among the real people in the real world. That's what I'm picking up from the real people in the real world. Number two, so many folks have been saying that the chemtrails in North Florida particularly are terrible, heavier than they've ever been. Let me tell you, when we entered northern Florida yesterday, coming down from Georgia, we stopped at mile marker 3 in Georgia, had lunch at a Ruby Tuesdays. Wonderful lunch, great service. Had a pretty waitress named Stacy who was just great, best service we've had in years. We crossed into Florida, so we would have been just north of Jacksonville, because you hit Jacksonville coming down that way. I think we were on 220 or whatever, 95. We were still kind of veering eastward slowly after I did the dad thing and didn't use the directions, and I got us lost in Virginia where I live. But we crossed in to northern Florida, and my son Daniel from the back seat says, "Oh my God, Dad, look at the sky. It looks like checkers and chessboards." I'm like, huh? Because I was just enjoying the sun, and the fact that, like, when we had gotten out for lunch, they're on the Georgia-Florida line. Hey, they're a pretty good band, aren't they? I like those guys. It's summer. As of right now, it's literally like 8:30 in the morning while I'm recording this. I came out with my pullover on. I had to take it off because I was hot. I'm out here in a t-shirt, and it feels wonderful. I was outside the other night looking at the stars there in Virginia, and it was like 11 degrees, and I was as bundled up as I could be. But now, this is wonderful. So I look up in the sky, and it literally looked like they were playing tic-tac-toe up there with chemtrails. More chemtrails than I'd ever seen in my life. And I said, OMG, I'm glad we already stopped for lunch. And my wife says, why? And I said, because we're not getting out here. We're not getting out anytime soon. All right, so that's number 2. Number 3, we got a message in the comment section the other day that I shared in a video just a couple of days back from a gentleman who works in engineering down here somewhere in Florida. He was mentioning about all of the dead birds they've been seeing on the side of the roads this year, more so than ever. And this is a 2-part story because it starts in Florida. It actually starts in Virginia. So that's the second part. I tell my stories out of order. It drives some people crazy, but some people really enjoy it. But it makes more sense to me. So, yeah, I've been seeing the dead birds all along the roads coming down through Florida. And interestingly, we've only seen one flock of seagulls. Now, pretty much as you come down the coast, you're not far from the actual water, the Atlantic Ocean. It's just a hop, skip, and a jump if you get off the interstate. So there should be lots of birds. We've seen only one flock, and it was, where was it? It was Daytona Beach. Yeah, right there around Daytona Beach. Is that where it was? Yeah. Okay, and then last night we went, whatever. I'm just trying to keep track of in my mind where we've been. So there's all these dead birds. And they've always written a lot of this off in the past to the fact that this is the end season for this part of the world, because you got all the folks coming down here trying to escape winter, like us from Virginia. There's a school bus over there. That's how early it is. There's no children, so I can do that, but you can see the school bus. I'm out here early because I tell you, this is a vacation, but this is a working vacation too. I'm down here doing my due diligence, okay? Let me back up and tell you about something we saw in Virginia. It was south of Roanoke, okay, before we got into North Carolina. We saw a hawk. And you'll remember the other day I made a video where a sheep farmer, I was sharing about how a sheep farmer had said something about sheep is they spend so much of their time every day trying to figure out a way to unalive themselves. We saw a hawk crash dive into a box truck in front of us. This hawk was not trying to catch anything. The truck was probably 50 yards ahead of us. The hawk was not going after a squirrel in the road or a rabbit or a field mouse beside the road. It literally dove into the front end of this truck. It wasn't after a smaller bird. It appeared as if it intentionally unalived itself. I've never seen a wild bird do that before, ever. Now let's put 2 and 2 and 2 and 2 together. Why would it be doing that? What do the birds know that we don't? All right. So, I am confirming the smells in the places people are smelling the smells. Danville, Virginia, Southwest Virginia. We have smelled them the whole way down. I've said to my wife, "Do you smell that?" She goes, "Yeah." I said, "What does it smell? What does it smell like?" And she'll say, "Well, it smells like something burning." And I will ask her. I'm not prompting her, and she doesn't watch my videos. She thinks I'm boring, and she has to listen to me talk all day, every day anyway. Look at this beautiful palm tree back here. Isn't this beautiful? Oh, it's so wonderful being down here. So I'll ask her, does it smell specifically like anything? And she'll say, well, it smells like wires, i.e. electrical burning. Okay, so we've confirmed all this. So in my head, the whole time I'm thinking, while she's sleeping, while he's sleeping, I'm like, what is the plan for the next phase, though? Because the running theory here is that they've fattened up the boomers, they've weakened the boomers, they've softened the boomers, they've gotten them hooked on meds throughout the last 2 generations. They've gotten us to where we treat anything that ails us or anything that we even think ails us with a tablet instead of healthy lifestyle, real food, and exercise, some sort of fitness regime. Okay, we've turned to the tablets. And now the running theory again is that they're offing us in mass depopulation because the boomers particularly have passed the point of being a profit and they've now become a liability. While they're in their working years, their earning years, they're in their 20s, 30s, 40s, 50s. They're out there working, they're earning, they're giving up 60 hours a week away from their families to make somebody else rich, they're down there at the GE plant, working at the GE plant, or working for General Mills, working for Philip Morris, AstraZeneca, making these people rich. Plus, they're making all the pharmaceuticals, not just AstraZeneca, but Pfizer, Merck, whoever, because they're on all these tablets, because they're like, wow, they're working themselves to death, but instead of changing their lifestyle, work-life balance, so they're not all stressed out and their blood pressure's not so high, and so they actually have time to eat real food instead of picking up dinner on the way home through the McDonald's drive-thru. Well, they just take tablets for all that, right? But now they require all these extremely expensive medical procedures because they're so just trashed. Oh, but shoot, they can't afford to pay for it. And of course their health insurance coverage isn't going to pay for it. You see how far that goes when you actually need it. That's a carrot they put in front of the horse. So you'll keep the job you hate that makes you miserable because they terrify you into believing, but wait a minute, we give you health insurance. If you quit this job, you lose your health insurance. Well, the next week something catastrophic is going to happen and you're going to die. 97% of the sheep will believe that lie. So they keep that job that they hate that makes them miserable for that health insurance that when they do need it doesn't cover them anyway. It's not covering them now. So they're being unalived, they're being sprayed, right? That's how it works. That's how the system works. So in my mind, I'm thinking, that's great, but listen, these money people really understand money. Once those trashed boomers are gone, how will they continue to make their profits? So in my mind, I'm thinking, well, it's got to be Gen Z. How are they going to do the same thing off of Gen Z? So I get to Googling around this morning, all right? Now, I brought my printer with me. It's in my truck, which is right over there. I'm looking at it. So I am going to be able to print off your emails. I'm sorry that I'm 500 behind. I will get caught up. But what I wanted to do today was research information to confirm my suspicions of their continuous plan. Because listen, these folks are never going to run out of profit centers. Look, I got my son's phone. He's a Michael Jordan fan. He's the GOAT, in my opinion. So I Googled, what are the most common medications among Gen Z? Because that's the next profit center, right? For the cabal, for the New World Order. Well, listen, I usually print this stuff off, but look, I had to take a screenshot. But these are things I found. I'm not making this stuff up. My glasses are stuck in my pocket and I only have two hands. Maybe I can get them with my foot. Nope, can't do it. All right, so from Google, the most common medications taken by Gen Z include stimulants and antidepressants and weight loss drugs. Gen Z also has a higher rate of prescription benzodiazepine misuse and cocaine and other age groups. So here's what they're doing: uppers and downers, okay? And the weight loss things, and the big thing I guess is Ozempic, okay? Then I later found an article from the New York Post dated December 29, 2024, so less than a month old, titled "Gen Z is skipping the gym and turning to weight loss drugs." So here's what we're seeing with Gen Z. They have filtered the emotions out of them. Now remember this, we consider them the soft generation, right? They're the ones that they don't play sports to win. And as a coach, this frustrates me. They play to participate. They just want to participate. Well, my son plays to win. The core group of kids on our teams that I coach and that Coach Forbes from Heath's house coach and some of the other coaches coach, we found that group that wants to win. And ironically, they're being raised by alphas who want to win, like me and Coach Forbes and the other coaches that we work with. But all these kids that want to participate, they're the norm. They've been taught it's mean to try to win. Oh, if you want to go out there and beat other people, for you to win, someone else has to lose. And if they lose, it's your fault because you're the one that won. And that's insensitive. You might hurt their feelings. You might send them off to their safe space where they have to rock themselves until they feel safe again and can return to the group. Yeah, you know what I'm talking about. You're picking up what I'm laying down. They've been taught particularly that masculinity is offensive. It's an unfair advantage over females, so don't show it. And then over the last 4 years, the majority of them have been taught, no, are you sure that you didn't wake up a little girl today, little boy? Are you sure you're not? You know what I'm talking about. That push to completely confuse them, okay? Why? Well, they've gotten to the point to where it's now viewed as if emotions are a bad thing. And this is human nature. So wow, surprise, surprise. To feel up, they got to take a stimulant. To get back down, they've got to take a downer. And then again, following their grandparents' generation, the boomers, they got a problem with weight, or if they think they have a problem with weight, take a pill. Listen to this. In that article from the New York Times, it says Gen Z is leading the way with 37% planning on skipping the gym and taking these weight loss drugs instead. Women, in particularly among Gen Z, are doing it heavier, since 30+% of them feel they are overweight and need to lose 23 pounds, whereas only 20% of men in Gen Z think they're overweight and need to lose 19 pounds. Listen to how distorted the self-view of these females in that generation are. They think they need to lose 23 pounds, whereas the men only think they need to lose 19. Men are typically 30% larger than women, and so these young women, tiny things in comparison to men, think they are far more overweight than their male counterparts. This has been the brainwashing of the freaking century after they've been done with the boomers, because hey, the boomers were already done. They're on their tablets. Let's get the next one on theirs. So I Googled who owns this weight loss drug, Ozempic. It's a Norwegian company, I think, and I've already forgotten the name. I look to see if it's publicly traded, because that's the next stock to own. If you want to make money over the next 50 years, I would say I'm not qualified to give financial advice or investment advice, but actually I am. But I'll tell you what, the next time I deposit funds into my IRA, my next pay cycle, so I can get the tax deduction, I do a traditional IRA, that's what I'm buying. They're trading currently at $80-something a share. Their PE is only 28, which is high, but it's not as high as most of these overvalued stocks on the market, and they do pay a dividend at 1.7% dividend yield. That's how they're going to continue their master plan. That's how they've gotten hooked into Gen Z. They've taken out the emotions from them, but in their desire to feel emotions, they are abusing uppers and downers, and they're convinced they're overweight. Their image of self has been completely ruined, and so they're taking these weight loss drugs they don't even need because there's so much profits in that. But let me talk to you, and I'm going to end it up with this. I told my wife this video would only be 15 minutes long. We're going on over 20 now. Benzodiazepines, because I thought, well, how are they going to off them? You know, they're getting the boomers with the sprays. Whatever's coming out in the chemtrails, the drones, a lot of us have been led to believe, and I'm convinced, whatever the drones are spraying is leading to that mass depopulation event with the boomers. Okay, benzodiazepines. And you can Google this and fact check me. I wrote a book years ago called Off Switch. I used to be a Veterans Affairs correspondent for several mainstream media legacy outlets. That's why I have 1.5 million people that follow me on the internet. That's why I have a reach of 50 million a month. I've been doing this for a long time. When I wrote that book, Off Switch, it's fiction based on fact, largely on my own personal experience of my time in Iraq, what I saw, what I experienced, and what a lot of my battle buddies saw and experienced. We got back, the VA was throwing so much stuff down our throats. I was on 8 different prescription medications, and a lot of them were benzodiazepines. You know that there are 22 veterans a day choosing to unalive themselves, right? I researched that thoroughly, and in my research, what I found was the number one constant among these folks is that they were on benzodiazepines. And one of the biggest side effects, detrimental side effects of benzodiazepines, is that they take away your will to live. So when those intrusive voices come in your mind saying, oh, it's just not worth it, it's not worth being here anymore, and you're picking up what I'm laying down, I hope, because I can't come out and say the words because social media is so heavily censored. They hate people like me because I'm too close to the truth. As another viewer said the other day, I'm not just knocking on the door, I'm kicking it down. Well, when we have those intrusive thoughts, our natural reaction is, hey, that's crazy. Today's a bad day. Tomorrow's going to be better. Things will get better. It's absolutely worth being here. There are people who love me. There's people that I love. And so I'm not going to do anything stupid, right? Well, when you get the benzodiazepines in there, it takes away that natural defense mechanism our brains have that tell us, no, the sun will come out tomorrow. We might have to go to Florida, but it will come out tomorrow. You know what I'm saying? Remember that movie, Annie? That's not there. So when those intrusive thoughts come in, there's nothing to stop that thought process. And now we see in their generation spikes in numbers of those who are choosing to unalive themselves. The crazy stuff we're seeing they're doing with firearms. Is that the next mass depopulation strategy for that generation? Once they've become no longer a profit center but a liability, which I think will happen sooner because a large percentage of them, upwards of 40%, aren't even working. 25% of them aren't even looking for work. They're being enabled by their sucker parents who are letting them stay at home and, oh yeah, the economy's bad, we know it's expensive, you just stay in the basement, you'll be fine. What happens when mom and dad are gone and there's no more profit coming in from anywhere? Folks, we're onto something. And I'm out here kicking the tires, literally, among the people out in the real world. I am going to be researching this. I'm going to be doing interviews. I'm going to get back to reading your stories. Continue to send them. The email address is crazylake@mail.com. Getting ready to go upstairs and pack up and hit the road. Next time you see me, you should be seeing sand and surf and water and hopefully seagulls, hopefully lots of birds and other natural wildlife. So thanks for being here with us for another amazing video from the most awesomest homesteading channel on the planet that typically doesn't have anything to do with homesteading. Homesteading Off the Grid. See you for more next time.